But do you? But what I want to get at though is, do you get hit up because you're so wealthy? Do you get hit up by people that are in the political spectrum that want to use your influence and you have how many fucking followers do you have?
It's 19 point something on Instagram and it's 10.5 million on Facebook and Twitter, so whatever. But I mean, yeah,
that's insane. That's more than the whole UFC.
Yeah, the reach is crazy. You know,
yeah, look at that, 19.2 million followers. That's crazy, and it's all just pictures of you grabbing titties. Like, look at this one right here. This one's hilarious. It's like someone told you that you should post something more.
Well, my team is like, you got to clean this up, you know, like, you know, there's big money.
I'm gonna be your new team. Fuck your team.
Exactly. Like, they're like, there's all this money out there, you know, this The Rock, he got paid $17 million to endorse Ford. They're like, you can make all this money.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh. What do you do? They just drive a truck?
Yeah, he basically drives a truck and does a Ford commercial.
17 million. It's probably worth it though for them. The Rock has like 67 million or some insane shit. But he's a goddamn movie star.
Yeah, no,
you're a dude who takes pictures with chicks.
That's the thing, you know. Like, I feel like I got to be maybe like the most famous guy that never had like a TV show or like a real talent.
Oh, 100%. There's no one even close.
It's kind of rare to be like #1 in anything, you know. So that's kind of cool.
You're the #1 baller.
Well, I don't know about that.
From America, you're the #1 baller. I'm giving you the crown right now. If I had a little Burger King crown, I'd put it on your head.
I could tell you some stories about some guys that got.
But they don't know who you are. They don't. Nobody knows who they are. You're the #1 public baller.
Yeah. Okay.
For sure.
I'm the only guy that's kind of putting it out there because you know most guys they got a job, they got a wife, they got family, you know, whatever. I just kind of just said fuck all of it, you know, like they can accept me or not, and I'm just gonna do what I want.
How old are you?
35.
Do you think that there's going to come a day when this is going to be tired? And if it does come a day, do you think you're ever going to go the marriage route? Is that possible at this point?
So look, you know, I mean, I'm a gambler, but I don't want to bet half my net worth I'm going to love the girl forever. But, you know, it's that not to say that I wouldn't, you know, have a girlfriend or, you know, I'm capable of being monogamous. You know, it's just, for me, it's more about options, really. Like, at the end of the day, like, it comes down to most guys are in relationships, I feel like, because it's either, hey, I'm going to jerk off on Saturday night, or I got to put up with her shit and I get laid, you know? And it's like, and a lot of it's out of laziness, a lot of it's out of lack of options, whatever the case may be, but it's not correct. Like, for me, I think a correct relationship is a guy that could be fucking, you know, 5 or 10 girls, and he chooses to hang out with this one girl because he likes her, and he likes hanging out with her, and she hangs out with him because she enjoys his company. And regardless of what the reason is, you know, because a lot of people are like, oh, you know, that girl's a gold digger, or they want to hate on him. But, you know, at the end of the day, if a guy has made his money from, you know, successful business and, you know, being smart and he hasn't fucked it off, like, you know, or he's a doctor or whatever, that to me is more of a part of who that guy is than a girl that's just born hot. So for a guy to like a girl just because she's hot, I feel like is like the most superficial thing of all time.
Well, I mean, she has to be nice too. She can't. I mean, hopefully
she does. But I'm saying a lot of guys are with a girl just because she's hot, and they don't really get as much shit as a girl that's with a guy because he's successful or because he has money.
It's true. It is true. It is true. Like the guy who earned that money, it's his character and his willpower and his discipline that's allowed him. His smarts has allowed him to earn that money, or he just got lucky as fuck.
There's definitely some lucky ones, but you know, you also have to hold on to it. You know, I mean, once you got money, I mean, you got every asshole and their mother with their hand out, you know, trying to scam you, and I mean, it's easy to, you know, fuck it off or, you know, make bad investments or, you know, whatever the case may be. Yeah,
it is. It is a funny little situation there, isn't it? Because, like, it's also the way women are allowed to dress. Even like a respectable woman is allowed to have her tits pressed together and pushed up, and she's allowed to have a skirt that's just like a little light vagina curtain, you know? And that's really all it is. And little panties underneath and smooth legs and high heels. I mean, the whole thing is sex.
Well,
it's just selling lust.
Let's talk about bathing suits. I mean, the fact that every bathing suit now is basically a thong, and the fact that, like, a bathing suit shows more than, like, the most revealing underwear back in the day ever used to, right? Yeah. But it's, like, completely socially acceptable. Then on Halloween, they can wear even less than that.
They paint their
tits.
And it's okay.
Yeah, it's, like, literally butt naked.
They're allowed to wear paint.
Yeah.
When the fuck did paint become close? Imagine we put paint on our dick and went out. You get arrested, right?
Yeah.
Well, how come a girl can wear paint on her tits, but you can't wear paint on your dick? I want to know.
Yeah,
I want to know.
Well, it's a double standard.
It is a double standard. Nobody wants to see your dick painted up. That's why.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like American flag or something.
Yeah, I don't want to see a bunch of zebra dicks around either.
It is weird. There are weird double standards, but it's also people don't want to open their mouth because they don't want, first of all, they don't want anybody to think that they, you know, like, why do women get to do this? And oh, what are you complaining? Poor guy. You know, you don't want to hear that. But it's also when men complain about the double standard in like marriage, like what you said, as far as it being a gamble, it's a terrible gamble for a wealthy man. It's terrible. Because like it's essentially a financial agreement. Yeah. It's not a love agreement.
Well, no, you're asking the government permission to be with a girl, and if you decide that you don't want to be with them, now you have to go ask the government, and then you have to get lawyers involved, and it's this whole process that, in my eyes, it makes both parties feel well, not both parties, because usually, you know, it's kind of like a magnet. Like one is pushing a little bit further than the other, and it's, you know, so there's one kind of like always chasing or whatever. So for me, it just makes the party that's a little bit less invested just feel trapped. And when you're in a relationship and you feel trapped, the first thing you want to do is run, right? So you got this one person, you know, that inevitably ends up feeling trapped, and the other person, you know, kind of gets lazy or complacent. And I feel like it just snowballs. You know, there's like a lot of momentum things, right? So if relationships just starts kind of going downhill and you're trapped in it because you're legally bound, I just feel like it's just going to get worse and worse, and the girl's going to stop giving the blowjobs, and the guy's going to resent it, and then maybe he cheats. You know what I mean? It's like this whole cycle that just wouldn't happen if you were hanging out because you wanted to hang out. Because let's face it, if you're hanging out with a chick and you like her and she's cool, and then she just decides to just completely let herself go and she turns into a fat ass, and or she just like stops wanting to have sex with you, you're just going to, you know, fuck other girls, or you're just not going to hang out with her, right? But if you're married to her, you don't really have a choice. I mean, now you're kind of like, you got to ask the government permission, and, you know, this and that.
Yeah, you got to get lawyers involved. You live in the same place. You got to, it takes forever. You have to agree on terms, and you have to pay for her lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, how brutal is that? Like, you're like literally like trapped in the same house as the person. You know, it's just like,
yeah,
fuck, man.
It can get crazy. It can get crazy, and I've seen it get crazy. I'm sure you have too. Yeah. When people get divorced, I mean, it is one of the most stressful things a person can go through in their life. And when you're working all day, and if she's not working, that's when it's really crazy. I had a buddy who was going through a divorce. His wife never worked. And he was working, you know, 10, 12 hours a day, just busting his ass constantly at his own business. And she would be fucking off and doing whatever she wanted during the day. He had to pay for all that on top of paying for her lawyer. And her lawyer was trying to fuck him.
So
and then he had to pay for his lawyer to battle her lawyer. And they all just dragged the whole thing out. It took over a year and a half for him to get divorced. So it's a year and a half, this poor bastard just, I mean, he's free now, but goddamn, but try to get him married now. He'll fucking shoot you in the face if you even bring up that word. It's like he went through it.
I mean, they have a term for it in gambling. It's negative free roll. It's where you can basically only lose. You have no upside. You know, like for instance, a negative free roll is like if I were to tell you, hey, you know, if you can go bench press 300 pounds, I'll give you $10,000. Well, I just can't win anything. You know what I mean? Because if you can't do it, then I don't get anything. So it's kind of like, in my eyes, I just feel like it's a situation where you can just lose. It's kind of like my buddy, he got into a relationship and he just like dove in like super hardcore really fast. And I just told him, I said, look, like, I just feel like you don't have a lot of upside by doing that, because, you know, you can get hurt. And if you just take it slow, like worst case scenario, you know, you just weren't quite as close for a month. But I said, you know, if it doesn't work out, then now you invested, you know, all this time and this effort, and it's like, and I feel like because he went so hardcore for this girl, it kind of like, you know, sometimes it makes them run away a little bit because they know you know, people, you know, they just by nature want what they can't have, right? So if you just give it all to them immediately, then it's kind of like,
they're like, look at this bitch.
Yeah, exactly. They kind of like lose respect for you a little bit.
It can happen, or it can be perfect. You know, relationships just have to be organic. That's what it really has to be. And as soon as you involve legal contracts, it's not organic anymore.
Exactly. Like once I feel like once it starts to be forced in any way, you know, then.
Well, it's when there's no prenuptial too. That's when things get really screwy. You know, when you find out how much people actually have to pay.
Yeah.
Like I've talked about it on my podcast before, but I have another buddy who's paying his ex-wife for the rest of her life. They were married for 12 years. He has to pay her forever. Forever.
Yeah.
She's got a new boyfriend. He's married. He's got kids now with another woman.
That's the most brutal part. Is when they get the boyfriend and now you're like supporting this dude to bang your wife.
Not only that, the dude lives in his house, and every time they send a lawyer over to check, the guy packs up his stuff. It's like a joke. He throws it in a U-Haul. He drives around the corner, waits for the inspector to leave, goes all the way around, and brings his shit back. It's fucking insanity. Because, you know, he's got this baller house in the Palisades he's living with this girl.
Yeah.
And the only way she gets screwed up is if she marries this guy. But this guy doesn't have any money. So she's never going to marry this guy. I mean, she would have to bank on marrying this guy. Would be worth, I think my buddy pays her somewhere around $500,000 a year. Oh. Forever! Forever! For life! So they were married for 12 years. They've been divorced for 15. So he's been paying her longer than they were married. Just want to fucking jump off a bridge.
But that's, you know, like I said, a negative fruit. I don't see the upside, right?
Well, it's so rare that it works out the other way. It's so rare that a woman has to pay a man. And it's one of those things where it's like men are being victimized left and right by this. And when you talk to people about it, they're always like, oh, you fucked up. Well, you shouldn't have done it. Well, you should have got a prenup. Well, okay, maybe. Maybe you could say all those things. Yes, maybe it was a mistake. But it was obviously a mistake under the whole spell of love. And to have this be a financial entanglement that can trap you, and this, I'm talking about, my friend doesn't even have any kids. He didn't have any kids with this lady. So it's insanity. It's just a robbery. It's just a legalized robbery. And I was having this conversation with a buddy of mine who is married. He's like, well, you know, I don't look at it that way. I go, look at it this way. The business of divorce, and it is a business. Whenever there's money involved in something, there's a bunch of people that try to figure out how to extract that money.
Yeah, the lawyers.
Yeah, the only money is in taking the money from the rich guy. That's where the money comes from. That's the only way you get the money. You don't get the money if the girl doesn't make much money. And everybody wins if the rich guy gets fucked. Yep. So if the legal battle for the divorce lasts 2 years as opposed to 2 minutes, everybody gets paid.
Yep.
Both lawyers on both sides make a substantial amount of money. The woman gets a substantial amount of money. The guy gets fucking drained like a vampire. And that's what happens, predominantly.
Yeah, which is usually the outcome of, you know, a lot of times when a rich guy gets involved in anything is, he gets drained. And that's kind of goes back to my previous point of why I feel like women that are attracted to guys that are successful, you know, it makes sense because there's just so many people trying to take that motherfucker down, you know? Like, when you're at the top of the hill, like, you know, everybody wants to, you know, get up there and, you know, bring you down. Well, it's just nature. I mean, it's just like a moose having a fucking giant set of antlers. All the other moose are like, oh, look at those antlers. You know, I mean, it's a thing that exists in all different species. Yep. I mean, there's no denying that when a guy pulls up in a Rolls Royce and he flies in his own private jet and he does a bunch of things that nobody else can do, that people just go, oh. And women automatically, genetically get attracted to that guy for some strange reason. Mm-hmm. There's you. There you are, buddy. Balling out of control.